It's Veterans Day 2007. I want to say hello to all my fellow veterans out there in the world and say Happy Veterans Day. Although I'm not sure that Happy Veterans Day is really the best expression, because happy means ha 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 ha, whereas Veterans Day is more about respect and paying homage to those people who have dedicated their lives and the millions who have given their lives in defense of freedom and the United States of America. So happy Veterans Day, but at the same time, remember your veteran, remember veterans around the world, and especially those people who are going to be veterans who are stationed around the world today, and especially fighting and dying in Iraq and Afghanistan and in other places around the world. A couple of days before Veterans Day, the Cigar Box Guitar Group received an email from Blind Ron. And Ron alerted us to a group called Operation Happy Note. Operation Happy Note was developed by a couple in Minnesota. They're a couple in their, I don't know, middle age. I don't know how old they are, but that's beside the point. The point is that they collect musical instruments of all kinds and send them to the troops overseas. Simple. The amazing thing is that this all started by their son, I understand, who was in the service, and asked them to send him a guitar. And they sent a guitar, and I guess his buddy said, gee, I'd like to have a guitar too, and somehow or another the whole thing has grown into an enormous adventure of collecting all sorts of musical instruments and sending them to Iraq and other stations around the world. Well, in order to get things going, I decided to call my friends at KAZOOBIE Kazooz. KAZOOBIE Kazooz, as we all know, and as I've mentioned in other shows, is the only kazoo manufacturer in the United States. And KAZOOBIE Kazooz is run by the brainchild of Rick Hubbard. This is their Christmas CD called A Kazoo Christmas, with Rick Hubbard and the Kazoo Kids, the Kickin' Kazoo Kids and their kazoo orchestra. I spoke to Stephen Murray, who is KAZOOBIE's vice president, an old friend of mine, and I put this idea forward, and we talked back and forth, and he said, listen, let's send some kazoos to Operation Happy Note. I said, well, how many, Steve? What do you think is a good number? He said, well, what do you think about 5,000? 5,000 kazoos? My goodness, I said, that's fantastic. And believe it or not, and I'm sure you will, 5,000 kazoos are on their way to Minnesota, to Operation Happy Note, to be forwarded to Iraq and perhaps other areas around the world, maybe Afghanistan. I don't know exactly where, but the troops are going to receive 5,000 kazoos. It's unbelievable. But of course you understand that there are more kazoo players in the armed forces than there are guitar players or saxophone players, because everybody in the world is a kazoo player, whether they realize it or not. Anyway, that's the story of Veterans Day on this end. Talking about Veterans Day and veterans, let me take a look at something. I think you noticed by the hat that I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran of what we called the Korean conflict. We didn't get to be a war. We were just a conflict. I was in the Korean conflict, my God, that was 55 years ago. But strangely enough, I'll show you how the armed forces work. About a month ago, less than a month ago, I received in the mail this certificate. Certificate of nomination. Right? I'll read it to you. It says, Certificate of Nomination, American Legion. This certifies that Howard Kapp, that's me, aka Captain Kazoo, upon meeting the strict requirements, mind you, the strict requirements set forth by the Congress of the United States, shall thereby be accepted for official membership in the American Legion. It only took them 55 years to send me this. So you can understand how veterans today are saying, hey, I think the services to veterans are a little slow. That being said, the only other thing I've got to tell you today is I'm very happy that we're going to be sending, in fact, they're already on their way to Minnesota and probably will be in Iraq within a month or less. The other thing that I want to mention is that the Cigar Box Guitar Group was also encouraged to send cigar box guitars and other musical instruments to Iraq. And I just happen to have, I'm going to step out of the picture for a moment here. Oh, reach over here to my assistant. I just happen to have this little baby here. This is a cigar box guitar. Actually, it's a slide guitar. It's not to be, you don't finger it, you play it with a slide. I don't have the bar handy right now. This is made out of a cigar box. Remember I showed you the cigar box guitar, cigar box ukulele a couple of shows ago. And this is a cigar box guitar, 3-string slide guitar, made by Tommy O of Hinton, West Virginia. Tommy O is a famous cigar box guitar maker. And I'm sending, me personally, I'm sending this slide cigar box guitar to Operation Happy Note to be forwarded to the troops in Iraq. So there'll be some accompaniment for the Kazoos. Who else do I have to thank? I really don't think I have to thank too many other people. I just want to say it's a pleasure to be able to send something to the troops that you know they're going to appreciate and they're going to enjoy. I think as a kazoo, as you all know, is something that everybody enjoys, everybody has a good time, everybody has fun. What we need in this world is more fun. By the way, we'll also be, I'm going to set this guy down over here, we'll also be sending a stack of kazoos to Paul Moore for his Ukuleles for Peace group. Now the one thing that I want to emphasize is that, let me just adjust things here. You remember I've only got one camera, and that camera is like welded if you will to this here table, right? So how's that? Is that okay? So I've got to be the cameraman and everything else, and what can I tell you? What can I tell you? Certificate of nomination, okay? All I want to say is, Happy Veterans Day. This many kazoos plus are heading to Iraq. Count them. How many is that? What else can I tell you? Have a nice Veterans Day. Of course, Veterans Day is over, but I think Veterans Day ought to be Veterans Week, Veterans Month, or for that matter, Veterans everything imaginable. I love you. Goodbye. Oh, God.